So to help us celebrate Halloween, I thought it'd be the perfect date to bring you a Genesys profile for one of my favourite spooky style of decks. That, of course, being Skull Servant. So what I'm going to be bringing you today is an OTK version of Skull Servant, as if there's very many other ways of playing this deck. It is built and designed for Genesys format, but I'll talk to you about some other alternatives you can change in order to kind of adapt it to more of a modernised build. As I do with all of my Genesys profiles, it will be the main, the extra, and of course the side deck, all included in that sweet points total of less than 100 points, because we are rocking out at 98 points. It gives you a little bit of flexibility should you want to change some cards, but we are mainly only utilising Full Losses, Super Polymerization, Forbidden Droplet, and Divine Arsenal AA Zeus, which is taking up our points. All the Skull Servants are 0 points, which is great. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content. Let me know if you're enjoying this Genesys style content. If you want to see any particular type of Genesys deck, I'll be more than happy to bring it for you. I'm trying to do Genesys like one profile a week, give or take, and then sticking to normal kind of scheduled content throughout. With that out of the way, diving headfirst into the first card of the profile, and the name of the profile being Skull Servant. So as Skull Servant is a bit of a vanilla, you don't really need to focus on him as a core component, as he's not going to be adding much to the actual build. It's one of these ones that you're going to be sending from the deck to the grave. It's a Skull Servant card name in the grave that's going to make your Mac Daddy OTK boss monster, the king of the Skull Servants, the game winner. So we are going to be playing 3 King of the Skull Servants. The reason for 2 of the original Skull Servants is they're just ways of more being able to send cards from deck to grave. That's why you play 2 Lady in White. There is Prince as well that will send a Skull Servant and a Lady in White. And the whole idea is to get as many cards that are going to become named Skull Servant in the graveyard as possible to give your King of the Skull Servant a nice fresh attack stat buff. So the original attack of this card is the combined number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servants in your graveyard times 1000. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to banish one other King of the Skull Servants or a Skull Servant from your graveyard to special summon it back. The idea is you want to get as many Skull Servants to the grave as possible, make this a fat stacked boss monster, and then just one-shot your opponent. Especially with more of the more modernised and newer kind of Skull Servant-esque monsters, so like White Lord and Mosaic Wight, it just makes it even more accessible to get you different Skull Servant cards into the graveyard, and just gives you more names to utilise. We're then on 3 White Bacon. So this card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard, and if a level 3 or lower zombie monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you get to discard this card instead, so it lets you protect your zombie monsters that one step further. If this card is sent to the grave, you get to add 2 monsters with different names from the deck to the hand except itself that are either Skull Servant or specifically list Skull Servant in its text, and then discard 1 card. So you can kind of see where we're going with this. If you do want to adapt your points, and I should mention this as well, is you can be playing loads of forbidden cards in this deck. So you can play, not that it's forbidden, but card destruction. It does take out a decent chunk of points. You've got Graceful Chariot, which is another great option as well, because what you want to try and do is draw cards, discard cards, and do everything else you need to. You can also play Card of Safe Return. So this is a card that lets you draw a card every time a monster comes back from the graveyard, which is what you're trying to do with a zombie-style deck. So you want to kind of move your points allocation away from breakers in droplets, full loss, and Super Polymerization. You can do and start to play more forbidden cards, which is the beauty that I love about the Genesys format, is you can adapt it to be as competitive as you want, or you can be like, I want to nostalgia play with some of the older cards that have been forbidden in the advanced format and kind of go down that route. Carrying on, we are playing 3 White Lord. So again, become Skull Servant while in the graveyard, and you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you have Skull Servant or King of the Skull Servant in the graveyard, you can send this card from the hand or field to the graveyard to send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard up to the number of Skull Servant and King Skull Servants in your grave. You can banish this card from the grave to target a Skull Servant or King of the Skull Servant in the grave and special summon it. Now remember, your Skull Servants, or most of your monsters, become Skull Servant in the graveyard, so good success. Then we've got 2 of the latest one, which is the 3 of the latest one, which is the only one that doesn't have a super rare upgrade as of yet. So next OTS, please, is 3 Mosaic Wight. So this card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the grave, and if it is normal or specialed, if it's normal or specialed, you get to add a Skull Servant or a card that mentions it from the deck to the hand. Now this is really important because another one of the new cards that we are going to be utilising is Wight Reanimator, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. On top of that as well, this one will give you the ability for an additional normal summon of a level 4 or lower zombie monster in addition to your normal summon or set. You can only gain that effect once per turn, and you can't special summon except zombies for the rest of the turn once you utilize that effect. Then we're on 3 of the Wight Prince. So if it's sent to the graveyard by any means necessary, you send a Skull Servant and a Lady in White from the hand and or deck to the graveyard. You can banish 2 Skull Servants and this card from the grave to special summon a King of the Skull Servant directly from the deck. This card's name again becomes Skull Servant in the grave. So this is why you play 2 of your Skull Servant. It's also why you play 2 Lady in White, which is also another one that is quite annoying that it hasn't got a super upgrade yet. So please. The only other one that's really kind of semi-bugging is the fact that White Mare is the only ultra rare of all of them. Yes, you can get King of the Skull Servant as an ultra rare, you can get Skull Servant as an ultra rare, but what I mean is pretty much everything apart from 3 Skull Servant cards have a super rare prince. You could technically play like the whole deck, but Reanimator, which we'll talk about later on, as a super rare, which would be really kind of cool. So Lady in White is you get to face up level 3 or lower zombies on the field, except itself cannot be destroyed by battle, and they're unaffected by spell and trap effects. This card name again becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. White Mare, it becomes Skull Servant 1 in the graveyard. You can discard this card to then activate one of the following effects. Target one of your banished Skull Servants or White Mares and return it back to the graveyard. Target one of your banished Lady in Whites or King of the Skull Servants and special summon it. So if you want to set up a line of protection for your King of the Skull Servant and just your general Skull Servants or any zombies, you'd actually be able to bring back your Lady in White, which is really important. And then the final kind of like Skull Servant card we play is the 1 White Princess. Now, its secondary effect can come up, as it is a quick effect, to send this card from the hand or field to the grave, and all monsters you currently on the field lose attack and defense equal to their own level and rank times 300. So the benefit of that is all of the monsters you're going to present to your field are going to be level 1s, so losing 300 attack is going to mean nothing. But if your opponent's playing like a lot of high level monsters, they're just going to lose a stack of attack, and then you've got your King of the Skull Servant just going in for that fresh punch for an OTK. Also becomes Skull Servant 1 in the grave, and if it is normal or special, you get to send a White Prince from the deck to the grave. Now, very rarely do you want this to be your normal summon, which is why you can afford to play 1 copy of it and not need to play 3 of it. And there are ways to search this out very easily because it mentions Skull Servant, so you don't need to clog yourself down to it. Your main normal summon, or one of your best normal summons, especially with Foolish Burial actually costing a decent amount of points, is going to be Uni-Zombie. As this will let you technically Foolish Burial a zombie from the deck to the grave, but also 1 from the hand. It does increase its level, it does open up the door to play some synchros if you want to. I decided not to go down that route, I'm just using Uni-Zombie as my way to Foolish Burial as many different Skull Servants as possible. But you can also get it to Foolish Burial a Mizuki, because then the Mizuki can banish from the grave and bring back any of your zombies. And as you might have noticed as I was reading out those effects, your Skull Servant cards are all soft once per turn. So as long as you can resolve those effects and send them to the graveyard like Prince, you get to send those cards straight away. You banish the cards and you work your way around again and again and again. So you're filling up the graveyard with as many Skull Servant named cards as possible, and your king is just going to get even stronger. Moving on to the spells, so the first kind of spell card we're going to utilize from the Skull Servant strategy is going to be Wight Reanimator. If your King of the Skull Servants attacks a defense issue monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Once per turn, you get to target a Skull Servant or King of the Skull Servants in the grave, send a Skull Servant or a monster that mentions it from the deck to the grave, and if you do, special summon that targeted monster. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn except zombies, which again is absolutely fine because your Super Poly will be used as a breaker, and then from that point on, you don't care about locking yourself into zombies. We are trialling out the Radiant Typhoon package. Now, I mean a very, very small Radiant Typhoon package of just 2 vision, but the idea is this is our 0 point cost in Genesys format card destruction. So you activate this card, you're going to draw 2 cards, and then if you have a quick play spell card in your hand or a Radiant Typhoon card, you have to discard it, or you discard your entire hand. So that's what you're trying to push for. Yes, card destruction would replace your entire hand, so it is a little bit better, but you're trying to aim to kind of tailor your hand so that when you activate this, and on the more chances, unless you draw into a Super Polymerization or a Forbidden Droplet, you're going to discard your entire hand, and if you do draw into a Forbidden Droplet or Super Poly, it doesn't really matter because then you've drawn fresh cards anyway. Rather than playing the third copy of this, the other card I'm playing is the Curse of the Ancient Turtle. You could play 3 Curse of the Ancient Turtles or 3 Radiant Typhoons, it really is up to you. This is also space that you could start to adapt a little bit, but remember these are 0 point costs, and if you want to start to adapt into card of safe return and everything else like that, you're going to start using up some points. So you banish a zombie monster from your hand or grave to then send a zombie monster from the deck to the grave. When your zombie monster is destroyed by battle, you get to banish this card from the grave to special summon a zombie with 2,000 or less defense from the deck. So again, you can just pretty much summon out any of your zombie or like your Skull Servants because they're all going to be that much weaker. Apart from Lady in White, which is really weird because she's a 2200 defender. And then the final cards we play are the points cards. So everything else here is 0 points. Very, very nice. So the points cards that we are going to be playing for this particular main deck is 3 Fuelos, 3 Super Polymerization, and 2 Forbidden Droplet. Now the reason I've only got 2 Forbidden Droplet and not 3 is because I had to make a sacrifice on points. So I took out a Typhoon from the extra deck and I took out 1 Forbidden Droplet to get the deck count down to 98 points. It's entirely up to you, but Forbidden Droplet is 10 points, so are Super Polys. You kind of choose which one you want to prioritize. I like Super Poly a little bit more because you can kind of control it with the side deck with Banshee and ways being able to send zombies from deck to grave very easily. Could be a really cool option for you, but you might want to lean into Forbidden Droplet instead. Entirely up to you. Moving on to the extra deck. So as I mentioned, we have our Super Poly targets. So for our Super Poly targets, we have Starving Venom, 0 points. Nice. We've got the Draco Necro, Never Soul Dragon. You can only, technically you can make this with your own monsters, and this is a dragon, annoyingly not a zombie. But you can make this with your own monsters, but the idea is that you're going to use this once you put your opponent under Zombie World and everything becomes zombies, then you're going to be able to Super Poly their field off no matter what deck they're playing. The standard staple of Mud Dragon, Predaplant Dracus Tapelia, and then our bridge that goes from being a Super Poly target but also an Ultimate Slayer target is going to be our Garura. So we're going to be playing 2 of this. So you can use 1 as a Super Poly target, but then you can also use 1 as a target off of the back of Ultimate Slayer. Talking about our Ultimate Slayer targets, so for our Fusion we've got Elder Entity Unts and of course Garura. For our Synchro we've got the Golden Cloud Beast Malong. For our XEs we have the Mirrorlogic Adigator. There we go. Speaking of XEs, so for our XEs, as you might have noticed, your Skull Servant and then King of the Skull Servant and most of your other Skull Servant-esque cards that are going to be staying around on the field apart from Lady in White are going to be level 1s. So you can start playing a decent range of rank 1 options. So the options that I've looked for, which kind of take the place of a Typhoon, so you have a bit of a way to change it up, is I went with 1 Ripple Bird, which is generic rank 1, 0 points again. You get to detach material from this card, target a monster on the field, change its battle position. While all of your monsters are in attack position, they gain 500 attack. While all monsters you control are in defense position, your opponent cannot declare an attack. So you could be like extra defensive or you can be extra aggressive. And the reason I like this as an extra aggressive option is as long as you put all of your monsters in attack position, you use this effect to change one of your opponent's monsters to defense. And remember, with Wight Reanimation, your King of the Skull Servant does piercing battle damage. So you get to shift it to defense and just go straight through for an OTK. We've then got the Fuko. Now this is in here as it's unaffected by other card effects, and you get to once per turn detach 2 materials from this card. The rest of the turn it can't be destroyed by battle and you take no battle damage. The idea is you would only make this because you'd then want to rank it up into Down and Magician to then work its way into Zeus. But arguably you could play both of these or one of these instead, and that's where the Typhoon opens up. For a more interactive rank 1, you can go for a Lyrilusk. Now, this is really going to be one of the ones if you can't complete the OTK because your opponent has interacted with you a crazy amount of times. You can make the Lyrilusk as long as you haven't zombie locked yourself. And this just gives you the ability to kind of return cards your opponent controls when they special summon, which is really, really important. For your OTK enabler, or a way to, not OTK enabler, but attack directly and then work into Zeus, is going to be your Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale into Downard, and then, of course, into the Mac Daddy, 20 points cost, Divine Arsenal, a Zeus, Sky Thunder. So Sky Thunder I think could be a really, really good card in this particular format. And again, it's one of them ones that if you can't complete the OTK, and you should be able to see it from like your opening hand or from what your opponent's field presents, then you'd go down the Zeus route. If you want to take out 20 points for your Divine Arsenal Zeus, then that can again open up some space in the main deck. Now I haven't actually looked about Card of Safe Return, but I know Card of Safe Return is definitely going to cost points because that would be absolutely crazy. I think it's 40 points. Because that's usually what most of these cards are. Yeah, so 40 points. 40 points is a little bit costly, but if you really want to play it, take out Zeus, and then you'd probably take out either both your Forbidden Droplets, or you'd probably take out maybe the Super Polymerization, and that would open up the space to play it. So let me just get the exact wording on Card of Safe Return. When a monster is specialed from the graveyard, etc., in damage state, you draw a card. So it just becomes, to be honest, I'd probably take out the, maybe you take out the Fuas instead. So take out the 3 Fuas, that's 21 points. Take out the Zeus, that's another 20 points. That leaves you on quick maths. You have 43 points to play around with. Maybe that's worth it. I'll let you decide that one. And then for our side deck. So for our side deck, we've got 3 Gamma Seals, just because there might be times where your opponent presents a nearly immovable object or like a Lunar Light, which you need to deal with. So a card you can be very, very helpful there. 2 DD Crows, and the reason we've only got 2 DD Crows is we want to play the 1 Neko World Banshee and the 1 Zombie World. Turn all your opponent's monsters into zombies. Happy days. Then we've got Ultimate Slayer. You could put Ultimate Slayer in the main deck if you do decide to cut Super Polymerization, because then you take out your Super Polymerization, you go for Ultimate Slayer, and it just gives you a 0 cost Breaker-esque option. As we want to discard cards, 3 Twin Twisters. And then the final cards I'm testing out in the Genesys format right now, as I quite like it, but you could play counter traps as like Iron Thunder, is Lost Wind. Purely because I can't find my copies of Iron Thunder and I'm waiting before I buy into any more just in case I do find them. But the other is it's just a trap card that you could play going first. And usually what will happen when you go into the side deck, once your opponent knows you're on an OTK style deck, they're probably going to make you want to go first, which is why I quite like Superpolymerization and Forbidden Droplet, because they're cards that even if I go first, I can just set them and still then interact with my opponent's field. So the benefits of both worlds. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the entire profile. Like I said at the start of the video, 98 points all together, which is really, really kind of cool. I like Skull Servants. I like zombies and the way they work in general in the game, but Skull Servant is just always one that I find really, really funny. I just like look at the little cute guy. I like how this guy works. I think he's really kind of cool, and I love how it's just like one big happy family. Well, I don't know how happy they are, but you know, one big family. I really do like how they interact with each other. I like how you've got the prince, you've got the lady in white, you've got the princess, you've got king. It's just really kind of cool, and I'm loving all the new cards we get. And I say new, that this is like probably like over a year old now, but White Lord is really cool. The Mosaic is really cool as well. Just so many cool pieces in regards to the Skull Servant art type. Like, I think it's really cool, really fun art type. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a very, very good Halloween. Enjoy it as much as you can do, and don't cause any trouble. Make sure that you are putting together a deck like this. I always do like the Halloween kind of esque, whether you're doing it through the whole month of October, but I like the idea that what I've been doing is the last week of October, I'll bring you updates of all the spooky themed decks. And I highly implore you to take one of these to your locals at this weekend, or maybe you did it last weekend, or heck, even for the whole month of October, maybe you go to your locals using a spook themed deck. Like Ghost Tricks could be really kind of cool. I wish we should do like Halloween style tournaments. That'd be also pretty cool. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.